Okay, so chapter 5. This is the chapter I wish that I never had to write. This is about the first time that he ever put his hands on me. So if you're sensitive to domestic violence, you might want to take a pause, take a breath before you get started. So before we dive in, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe. And, if this story is helping you feel less alone, grab my book. The link is in the description. Your support helps this reach someone who might need it. So the first push, almost a year, maybe 8, maybe 10 months. I'm not sure exactly. We're sitting on his mom's couch. I've got my homework in my lap. We're talking about who knows what. I don't even remember. And for once, his mom and I agreed with each other, not with him. And so he said we were ganging up on him. At one point, I kind of shifted to sit up, and I put my elbow up on the back of the couch, and out of nowhere, he shoved me. No, no warning. No, it was just so out of the blue. He just shoved me off the couch. My stuff went everywhere. My books went everywhere. And here I am looking at him dumbfounded, like, what the hell? So, and that's what I said. Actually, me and his mom said that exactly the same thing at the same time. And he said, "I'm sorry, I thought you were going to hit me. It was just a reflex. I thought you were going to hit me." Well, we argue for a little bit, and she tells him, not to ever lay his hands on me, blah, blah, blah. He apologized, profusely, but, I can still hear him saying, I just reacted. And that's where I made my first mistake. I believed him, and I blamed the movement of my own body. I told myself, okay, no more sudden moves in his peripheral. I called it PTSD. I called it compassion. But really, it was just the first brick in the wall that I would have to spend years climbing. We kissed, we made up, and he swore that it would never happen again. And spoiler, it did. So mid-October was the first time anything public happened. It was cold, dark by like 6. And we were Christmas shopping at the mall with his mom and grandma. And we split away from them. And so it was just the two of us walking around. We were at the food court on a bench when this really, really sexy man walked in. Well, guy. He saw him first. He points at him and he says, "You think he's cute?" He did that a lot. Like daring me to tell the truth just so he could punish me for it. I shrug and, I'm like, I don't know. That's anytime it wasn't a hard no. So, of course, he hears yes. And then that's when he started, like, interrogating me. So the man that walked in was black, very sexy. And he asked me if I'd ever been with a black guy. David was extremely racist. And, all these thoughts are going through my head at that very second. And I don't know if I should lie or not. And I tried to lie, but he could always tell. He could always tell. And so I cracked. And I admitted that, once I kissed a mixed guy. Well, he, like, exploded. He stood up, grabbed my hand, jerked me up, put his hand on the back of my neck, and started, like, guiding me out the door. And I said, "Where are we going?" And he said, "To beat your ass." And I'm like, he said it like he was telling me where we were parked, like, outside. I'm a nervous wreck. He's never said that to me before. And, the air bites my face and my stomach's in my throat. And, he shoved me into a car and my face down on the trunk. And then he picked me up off of that car and kind of pushed me into another one, and I'm apologizing and pleading and trying to, you know, shrink. I asked him to lower his voice, which makes it worse. Next thing I know, this woman runs over and she's got her 6-foot husband right behind her, and she gets in his face, you know, and she's calling him a real big man for pushing a little girl, and he backs off away from her but goes towards the man. And like, fear wasn't really David's thing, you know, even when it should have been. Most men who are abusive towards women are kind of pussies and they won't stand up to another man, but not David. He would stand up to literally anybody. You know, and then all of a sudden he just shouted out that I gave him herpes. Everybody just kind of went, you know, they just kind of stopped. And I'm looking at him like, what? Like, I do not have herpes, okay? I do not have herpes, and I did not give you herpes. Do you have herpes? You know, like, this is not even what we're fighting about. For the record, I do not have herpes. And so, you know, he was ashamed of the real reason that he was pushing me around. So he made up some reason, you know, and I begged the couple to leave us alone, scared that, you know, you're just going to make it worse. It's just going to keep getting worse. So he started to soften up just a little bit. They end up walking away. He starts, you know, apologizing for snapping and just saying, you know, that's how he was raised and that he loves me and he's sorry. And so we start to head back inside. Then the police show up. Barboursville PD with their lights on, and they come out and stop us. And an officer said that witnesses reported that he was pushing me. Of course, I said he didn't do anything. They looked at my face, they looked at my neck, they saw the way my hands were shaking, and they separated us. The officer asked me to tell the truth. So I split the difference. I said he pushed me once. He was mad about something that I said, and they told me that that is not the story they got. They saw the mark on my neck, and they said that's enough. They cuffed him. I begged them to let him go because, you know, here's kind of the sick logic of it. If they arrest him, when he gets out, he's going to be even madder now, more mad, and I'm going to pay even more. So they call my mom, they call his mom, and we do this whole little, you know, thing where everybody goes home. But anyway, so back at my mom's, you know, I'd been telling mom nothing happened. The phone rings. He says, "It's me. I'm coming to get you." I should have said no. I should have stayed home. I should have never seen him again. But, you know, pride is a powerful gag order. I told my mom nothing happened, and the truth is that, you know, I still loved him, or the version of him that I thought might be real if I could just be less, if I could just be who he wanted me to be. So I went, against my mom's face. She wasn't happy with me going, but I went. A few days after that incident, his mother caught me alone and told me I needed to leave him. She said, you know, you can do better. You don't deserve this. She said, he's his father's son. He's not going to change, and it's only going to get worse. And it's only a matter of time before he really hurts you. Like, his own mother is telling me this, okay? I didn't listen. I believed I could love him into someone different. I thought, tenderness could discipline a tornado. And that's not how physics works. That's not how people work. So, note to self. If a man's mother tells you to run, you better lace up and go, because she means it. So, people always ask, what was the first time like a line being crossed so quietly that you almost think you stepped over it yourself, like blending the apology with the injury so you can't separate them. It's like telling yourself it was my sudden movement, my mistake, my mouth, my laugh, my truth that got me in trouble. That first push, it wasn't a reflex. It was a test. Will she accept this? Will she make it about my trauma? Will she call it love? And I did. And, once you swap those definitions, once harm gets renamed love, it gets harder to leave every single day. From the other side, I see it plain. The first time is a map. It tells you who someone is when they don't get their way. It tells you what they do with their hands. Do they hold or do they hurt? It tells you whether, I'm sorry is relief or a reset button. My reflection today is simple and sharp. Nobody gets to put their hands on you, not even once. I thought you were going to hit me is not accountability. I love you without safety that's just a threat. It's dressed up as a promise. Love is safe. Love doesn't equal pain. And if someone requires your silence to stay lovable, then they do not love you. If you needed this reminder, put your hand on your heart with me and tell yourself, you deserve gentleness. You deserve air. You deserve to keep your body and your truth at the same time. And you do not have to earn safety. That is a given. Okay? To the girl on the couch with the papers on the floor, you're not overreacting. You don't owe anyone a smaller version of yourself just to keep the peace. You can't love the violence out of someone who chooses it. And you don't need to have, better excuse. You don't need to have a better excuse to leave other than, he pushed me. That is a good enough excuse. Get out. So to anyone who is watching this right now, plan quietly, document safely, find one person that you trust. Tell someone that you trust who believes you. And when you're ready, go. Just go. You are not weak for staying. You are not dramatic for leaving. You're a human being, and you are allowed to be safe. That is your right. So if this chapter landed for you, please hit that like button so it pushes out to someone else who may need it. Subscribe to my story. You'll get this, chapter by chapter. And if you're ready to read it all now for yourself, grab the book and the link. Coming up next is How the Line Keeps Moving. How sorry becomes strategy and how isolation locks the door from the inside. You don't want to miss chapter 6. And, if you're in danger, I know that clicking a link isn't a solution. But hearing someone else say, "Me too," can be that first brick taken out of your wall. You're not alone. Not anymore. I survived. You can survive yours. Whoever or whatever he is for you. I'm rooting for you. And I'm not done talking. It's not over.